Hi there. After my family and I started homeschooling, not long after, I decided to plan a trip to Washington, D.C. and the surrounding area. And we went with another family, and my kids had a blast. We visited all over D.C. I ran them ragged, but we had such a great time. And it's a trip that I really want other homeschool families to be able to enjoy. So I've organized a trip from April 12th to April 18th of 2026 just for homeschool families. And we will be seeing some amazing sites. We'll go to Ford's Theater, where the Lincoln assassination took place. We'll go to the Spy Museum. We're going to see, of course, all the memorials. We will see some government buildings. Also, Mount Vernon is one of my favorite places where George Washington made his home, and the National Zoo, the Museum of the Bible, the Smithsonian, and also Arlington Cemetery. So please join me. This is one of the best things you can do as an American homeschool family. But even if you're coming from abroad, you're more than welcome. I hope to see you there.
The Sam Sorbo Show is brought to you in partnership by the Herzog Foundation.
Hi there, and welcome to this episode of the Sam Sorbo Show. I'm going to do a show without any guests. You get just me and a bunch of my commentary on what's happening in the world. So stay tuned. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Here we go.
Sam Sorbo,
Sam, welcome back to the program.
I'm glad we welcome Sam Sorbo.
It's great to have you here.
Sam Sorbo.
All right, so welcome back to the Sam Sorbo Show. To kick it off, I figure I will give a quick plug for my trip to Washington, D.C. with homeschool families. So recently, I just got back from a trip in Greece with a bunch of people who signed up with Sorbo Studios to walk in the footsteps of Paul with Kevin and me, and it was absolutely amazing. And there was such a great sort of camaraderie that developed between all of the participants. Now, this was a small trip. We only had 30 people, but it just became like a family as we were sort of going through the ruins in Athens and Thessaloniki and elsewhere in Greece. It was just amazing. And frankly, seeing an inscription that had been a lintel, which is a piece that's over a door, but they often over centuries, they would reuse the carved stones to build other things like roads later on. And so the archaeologists discovered this lintel piece that proclaimed the name of the person that Paul had actually talked to. And it's recorded in Acts. And this piece of stone that is now on what used to be a road, it's embedded in the ground, actually says that person's name and title. Was just, and there were several moments like that. It was just amazing. And so, of course, Washington, D.C. will be different. It's not quite the same thing, but it's the nation's history. And this is the greatest nation in the world. And your children ought to experience that viscerally so that they can know it as they grow. Now, I did this trip with my own kids years ago when they were little. And I know that it was a life-changing trip for our family. We learned a lot of history. We had a lot of fun. And that's what I've designed this trip coming up to be. So I really hope that you'll consider bringing the whole family and maybe even inviting some friends to join you. We invited friends on our trip. I organized it, but we had a family that we were very close to who joined us for the whole trip. And we actually spent 2 weeks. And it was just amazing. But of course, you can do that when you're homeschooling. So go to Sorbo Studios. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and check out the stuff that we have going on, and also sign up for the Washington, D.C. tour that I'm very excited about. Okay, now into other things. I have some really great news, but I do want to cover some of the recent developments that have happened in the legislatures, or things that are going to happen in the legislatures. And frankly, this is there are such things happening that I can't even. So because we as homeschoolers are so effective, so much more effective, so much better at teaching our children than the institution of the public schools, of course, they have to come after the homeschoolers. Now, what happened in California, I'm going to cover, but I want to go first. We're going to pivot to Michigan. In Michigan, they want sex ed curriculum to become a required part of health education in Michigan public schools. Required. This not only violates the current law that keeps sex ed classes separate, but it also eliminates a parent's right to opt their child out. It eliminates it. So your child will be spoken to about sex at all ages in Michigan public schools. Why? Because health class would then include sex ed, which is required for graduation. They require it for graduation. How they got it required for graduation is beyond me. Who agreed that it was imperative that children be spoken to about sex by strangers, virtual strangers, in order to graduate high school? But of course, in Oregon, you don't have to read or do math to graduate high school. You just have to know sex, apparently. Well, this is Michigan, not Oregon. Okay, the proposal will silence the voices of parents, clergy, and community members. It will also remove transparency. And they also want to add a requirement to teach gender and sexual identity, which has never been part of the sex ed curriculum. They're morphing it. So if you are in Michigan or you have access to the survey that they are putting out or the various forms of protest, I highly suggest that you go and make your voices heard, because they are very quickly codifying into law the right of any adult who ascends to a position of power in the school system to converse with your child about sex. And you know what that does? That's just a beacon to all the perverts out there. It's just a beacon. So, quick update on Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. We are representing several parents who have spoken on sexual abuse or child abuse that have happened, and they have dealt with tremendous repercussions because the abusers don't want to be found out. If you have the opportunity or can make the opportunity to remove your child from those infestations that we call schools, I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, California passed HB 495 in the dead of night. We have yet to see the repercussions from that, but the bill allows any adult to take authority, guardianship of any child without the written consent or even verbal consent, without the consent of the parents. They just have to attest to having tried to reach the parents and not being able to. This was, of course, in response to ICE deporting children's parents and, quote, separating families. And so California felt like, okay, we have to pass a bill. But honestly, folks, even Jack Hibbs said it. Don't stay in California if you have young kids, because you've lost control over your children. You've lost control. And it might not be today and it might not be tomorrow, but you've lost control. And if you do anything to upset the apple cart, literally anybody can claim guardianship over your child. So if you send your children to school, like at this point, if you live in California, don't let your children out of your sight. Just don't do it. Don't send them to a friend's house. Don't send them to school, certainly. Don't drop them off at church. Don't do that. Don't send them in the grocery store to go get something and bring it back to you. Don't do that either. It's free. It's a free for all in California now. And it is so, forgive me, I don't want to see what I'm seeing. I don't like all the nefarious crud that we are seeing permeate our culture. But I mean, I've read the Bible, and I will tell you 20 years ago, I was of the opinion that Sodom and Gomorrah was an exaggerate. I don't know. I struggled to picture it. I didn't believe it was an exaggeration. I believed that the Bible told a true story, but I struggled to picture it. Really? They wanted to have sex with angels? Come on. Like, really? I mean, okay, they were pretty bad people. Okay, the whole town was pretty bad, but still, really? And now, oh, I see it. I see the writing on the wall. I see it. I suppose it comes with age that, at a certain point, you've seen so much that you're like, oh, yeah, I could totally see that happening now because we are seeing it happening. The former administration lost over 300,000 children. I'm just on a rant today. So part of the reason that I'm on a rant today is because I am going on hiatus. I am shutting down the show for maybe up to 2 months. I'm working on a couple of different opportunities, and I don't have any concrete information for you as yet. So don't cancel your subscriptions because I will be back. I'm not sure in what iteration that will be. I've been asked to come on a couple different platforms, and I'm just sort of weighing how that's going to look, what that's going to look like. I will tell you that doing the show is a tremendous amount of work. And so I'm trying to, because I'm working now with Parents Demanding Justice Alliance and is taking a good deal of my time, requiring a bit of travel and things like that, that I need to pivot. And so at least for a short term, I will sort of take a hiatus from this show. And then we'll see. We'll see about where it pops up again. Thanks for tuning into the Sam Sorbo Show. We are in a battle for our very nation, a nation that was founded on Christian principles and on the Bible. The 10 Commandments is the basis for our rule of law. But these days, when you go talk to people on the street, you'll find that most of them don't even know what rule of law means. And that's why I'm so proud to have Herzog Foundation as a sponsor of my show. I also love what they do because they seek for the benefit of Christian education throughout the nation. So Herzog Foundation is a wonderful partner for us here at the Sam Sorbo Show. Thanks for watching. At least for a short term, I will sort of take a hiatus from this show. And then we'll see. We'll see about where it pops up again. So I encourage you, please go to sorbostudios.com, sign up for our newsletter because that's the best way that we can stay in touch. But of course, also subscribe here because the announcement will be made here, and like the videos, and please share with your friends because of course we're still trying to grow, and get the message out. There are far too many children who need saving, who need rescuing. And their parents are perfectly capable of rescuing them. I do want to get through some of these emails because they were important enough for me to print out. And so it's about time that I did these. But let's see. So follow me on Instagram. Go to Instagram right now, Sam_Sorbo, Sam with a line at the bottom, Sam_Sorbo. Follow me there. Follow me on Facebook. And follow me on Twitter at the Sam Sorbo, because that's the best way to stay in touch. And I don't want to lose contact with y'all. And of course, we're still going to be putting things out on Sorbo Studios, etc. So, in fact, I think, everything else will be business as usual. It's just that for a time, I'm going to close this down over the holidays, and then we will see how it comes back into iteration after that. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to some of these emails. Hello, I was wondering if you had a suggestion on where to start for more information on how to start homeschooling or how to choose the right curriculum. My son, is in second grade and not doing well. The teacher isn't helping anymore, and it's just not working out. They expect me to teach him what he can't understand at home after they have had him for 7 hours. Isn't that always the way? So let me just tell you guys, Every court case where the parents sued the school for not teaching their child how to read, the court said, it's not the school's responsibility, it's the parents' responsibility. You bozos, teach your kid how to read. What are we thinking? Sending our children to school at all? I know we were just raised to do it, but wake up, snap out of it, right? Isn't that what she says in that movie? Snap out of it. Wake up. They're your kids. Oh, shameless plug. They're your kids. Read my book. They're your kids. They belong to you. They don't belong to the teachers. And nothing against teachers. There are a lot of great teachers for what that's worth, but it's the institution, baby. So she has to teach herself how they teach their lessons, right? Because you can't just teach the stuff that you think you know, which you do, you know it. You have to teach it the way they teach it, especially once they implemented Common Core, which I would guarantee you was the torture device implemented in order to separate families further, separate children from their parents further. Read my book. Once you read this book, you will understand the big ruse that's been perpetrated on the American public. Okay. The principal, he's the sweetest boy and loves, of course he's the sweetest boy. But this woman is afraid of messing him up. Can you imagine? The principal just seems more interested in me medicating him because, quote, that worked so well for her daughter. Wow. Like I really struggle with this. So what I'm going to say is if the boy is 7 years old, pull him out of school and stop doing school. If he's struggling so much with school, and by the way, he's not 7, he's in second grade. That's like 8, right? 7, 8. Okay. Maybe he's young. Maybe he's just too young to learn the crap that they want to teach him. Maybe it's just crap. And you shouldn't worry about that stuff. But here's the problem. This is where I get emotional. Every day that little boy goes to school, he learns that he's stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it. That is abuse. So pull him out. Say, you know what? We're going to do this together because you're too smart for them. They don't understand you. And they're losers. Say empowering words to him because he's been trained now to think that he's dumb. And shame on them. And that's the whole system. And I'll say it again. I know there are some good teachers. But advocating to give a boy, to medicate a little boy because he doesn't understand a bad teacher who clearly can't teach. It's second grade. It's not that hard. This is a bad teacher. I got nothing for the teacher. And the teacher's not helping anymore. The teacher's not helping anymore. What other information do you need to know? Done. Gone. I had nothing. Pull him out. Teach him the stuff that he needs. A little bit of math. Teach him how to read. Start giving him really good books. Start just reading with him. By the time he's 10, he'll be reading all the books all by himself, and you'll never see him again. That's not really true. But he'll be off on his own because the books are that interesting. Good books, older books, not post-1950 in general, not post-1950 in general. The earlier books are so interesting for young men and young women that you will lose them to their books. Take away the screens. Don't do the screens. Just do that. And then as they mature, specialize. As they mature, focus on the different areas that they are interested in, whether it's mathematics or economics or politics or history. or philosophy. Start focusing on that stuff. And frankly, if they show a proclivity earlier, then that's when you start focusing on it. Feed that curiosity. Ugh, I can't even. Are you looking for quality homeschooling resources? Apologia offers top-notch curriculum for all ages. It's designed to inspire a love of learning and a strong foundation in faith. Head over to apologia.com and use code SORBO10 to get 10% off your next purchase. Equip your children with the best education tools and save today at Apologia, the trusted choice for homeschooling families. Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel, mother to a smart 4-year-old girl. I am new at homeschooling and get comments like, she will be ready for school soon. I do not care what my circumstances are. I refuse to send her to school. It would be intentional child abuse on my part, knowing what I know. However, I do not know any homeschoolers and I need a good curriculum. No, you don't. I am finding co-ops in my area, but what would be a solid Christian homeschool curriculum? And she admires Sorbo Studios, which is lovely. So there are good homeschool, Christian homeschool curricula. I never know which one to say, but both. And I have them up on the site. So go to sorbostudios.com, look under my name, and you will see a number of curricula that I do recommend, that I do endorse. However, you are the curricula and you are enough. Now, that doesn't mean that curricula can't help you. It can, but she's 4. She doesn't need curricula yet. Maybe when she's 7, you can start doing some curricula. She's 4. I suppose soon to be 5, because they say, oh, she'll be ready for school soon. So 5, read good books, just read good books. And then if she's interested, show her how numbers work, get some flashcards maybe and drill, math facts if you want, if she's interested, but do not force feed her curricula. Do not force feed your children academics because you think that academics are that important. It's so absurd how they have gone completely off the rails and we're not noticing that they're just completely messed up. Okay, next one. Hi, Sam, loved your parenting video. Our kids are late teens now, but I will do my best to heed your advice. We recently moved out of the school district we were in. We experienced how bad things have gotten. Okay, so this one's just a commentary, but I thought this was really, really important, actually. My main comment to you is that inflation does more than just drain our pocketbooks. It also drains the time we have to spend with our children. It puts parents under more pressure, which can easily lead to shorter tempers. Time inflation lessens the time we have to watch great videos like yours, like mine. This is very sweet. Information inflations or info glut is obfuscating valuable information like you shared in your videos. I think he might be talking not only about my podcast, but about my show on Epoch TV, which is called Schools Out with Sam Sorbo. That's a 21-part series that I did on the devastation of our schools, just the inefficiencies in our schools and the devastation that they wreak on all of us, and more so now on the younger generation, more. This individual grew up in the 60s and 70s, a simpler time with much more freedom, much less fear, and that has vanished in many places today. Yes, best wishes to you and Kevin. That's so sweet. So yes, inflation is a tremendous issue. In fact, I've been speaking a lot about inflation vis-a-vis the fact that we've had monetary inflation. And so we can sort of rack that up to, well, things cost a lot more now, but people earn more, right? But here's the problem is the earnings have not inflated to the same degree that the costs have. And so 100 years ago, a young man could get married and support a growing little family on an initial salary, on a first job salary. Maybe not minimum wage salary, that didn't exist back then, but basically if he took a job, he could expect that he could at least support, maybe not in the lap of luxury, but could support a small family. And that's simply not the case today. Simply not the case. You can't afford rent and a car payment and have a growing family with, medical bills and whatever. You can't do it on a single salary. And I get that. Or it's much, much more difficult. And so people are trying to find ways to make do. The best solution that I've seen for a young growing family is for the wife to figure out how to work from home. And so she can raise babies and still bring in some income to help out, because it's a big burden on a young man, and it's very difficult to do specifically because of inflation. But then he talks about time inflation. Oh my goodness. And he's right. And there's so many things that suck our time, not to mention entertainment, which is an enormous time suck. Social media scrolling is an enormous time suck. Emails are an enormous time suck. We used to just pick up the phone. And so you only communicated when you really had to. But the number of times my phone dings with just a thumbs up emoji on a text that I sent, and you're stuck in this sort of vortex of just having to answer and answer and answer and answer. And basically nothing's gotten done. It's just, yes, and yes, or whatever. Yeah, the time has inflated, and everything. And by the way, everything is moving faster also. So that also sort of contributes to this time suck. I got to check my emails at 9:00 at night before I go to bed, because otherwise I might miss something. And I know there are a lot of people who feel that. And then finally, information inflation. So, and this is something that I've heard other people talk about, is this idea that if you want a story to disappear, you just tell so much about the story that people feel like, oh, they've heard it. They've heard it all, because they have heard so much. And then they don't go back and go, but wait a minute, because I never really understood how that came about. And so but I think what he was sort of focusing on is how there's so much information that we'll just miss a story because there's so many other stories that are happening at the same time. So it's very true. There's not much I can do about it except to encourage people, if you have young children, live a simpler life for the time that they are young. Just donate that time. Just say, okay, this is the time. I'm gonna koppla av, they say in Swedish, disconnect. I'm just gonna focus on family, work, earning enough to provide for my family, and spend time with my family. I still, and I've said this to a lot of parents, I used to go up into my kids' rooms from when they were little, frankly. I would just take 10 or 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever. And I would just go up and sit in their room with them, whichever one. Well, my boys shared a room. So when they were there, obviously. And if we talked, usually we talked, but I wouldn't necessarily be the one to start the conversation. And I still do it today because I formed a connection with my children that is undeniable and needed. And so I need that. That's part of my makeup. I need it. And it's going to be very difficult when they move out because I will miss that. I need that connection. But I will find other ways to have it because that's how it works. Okay. Now, this is an email that I sent back to somebody. She had been watching Schools Out on Epoch or Epic. And one of her questions was, how could she convince her 13-year-old to want to homeschool? Because she recognized that the school was a dangerous place. And I will reference, I've been told on many occasions, well, we let our children decide if they wanted to go to school, which is like, are you not parents? The parents' job is not to allow children to decide things for themselves. That's obscenely stupid. I can't even. But at the same time, you don't want an enormous fight with your 13-year-old. It's a tender age. There's lots of other things going on. And so who wants that fight? If your 13-year-old is going to fight you on it, that's also putting you in a very difficult position. And so I thanked her for her question. I said, I've been wrestling with the most reasoned answer. Sorry, there was a second question. Okay. Let me get back to this. So the husband really liked his school. And so he couldn't understand why they should take their little boy out of school. But the 13-year-old was on her own course. But for the little boy, I just wrote back, well, because the husband was under the impression that the little boy was going to the same school that he went to, but that's not true. That's not true. A school is not the bricks and mortar. We're not sending our children into some building and saying, hey, building, teach my child. So it's not the same school. And your husband needs to think through this. And I get it. He wants the boy to play football or whatever. But you got to find a different solution, because if you found out that the football coach was a pederast, you would think twice, right? And I'm just saying to you, it's worse than that inside the school walls. There's a tweet going around again of a book, Gender Queer. I think it's called Gender Queer. And I can't even show you the images because the images are actual acts of sex. They're drawn, but they're people enacting different sex acts very vividly. And this is a children's book in the schools. And they will deny that it's in the schools, but it is there. And then they will claim, oh, I didn't know it was there when you find it. So you can choose to have that fight every day while you send your child to school, but I don't know why you would. It's like sending your child into a nest of vipers and standing by with an antidote and hoping that it works. Your kid's going to get bitten. You're going to try the antidote and you might not get it in time, or it might not work. So I don't know why you would do that to your pride and joy, your offspring. You remember how happy you were when you found out you were pregnant, how excited you were? Think about that and think about how that's changed now that you think that you can just offload your child into a school for an education, which of course they're not even doing. Okay, so I asked sort of what is it about the school that's the same, that defines it as the same school that he went to, because it's not the books, it's not the teachers, it's not the principal, it's not even the same schedule. Okay, it's not the same. And then I wrote, fear of the unknown should not be the deciding factor. Look at the info on how well homeschooled children do versus schooled children. You'll see that on average, they score 25 percentile points better on standardized tests. That doesn't even take into account how much better they are socialized, socially, I should say, and how much better they are at problem solving, because homeschooled kids tend to think much more outside the box. Schooled children think inside the box because they've been given not only the problems, but their solutions. They're not given problems for which there are no solutions because the teacher doesn't want to have to deal with that. So the whole metric is just to reiterate what you've been taught. I mean, it's just absurd. So, and then I say to her, for her daughter, the 13-year-old, that I have done videos on that. specifically, how to convince a 13-year-old that she should homeschool rather than go to school. And I get that it's difficult, and I'll do, but you can look on my YouTube channel and find the videos actually. But the point is, you're in charge. And that's what I mean by that is you need to figure out how to convince her. It's not enough for you to say, this is what I want, and your needs be damned. You can't say that, and you know that. And so then you have to say, okay, let's talk about this. What is it that you love about school? And she'll say, let's say she says, well, I love all my friends. Okay. You won't lose your friends by not going to school though, right? And so you have to have that conversation with her. And okay, which friend in particular? Well, all of them. Well, no, you only have like so many friends. We can only ever really have 5 good friends at a time. So who are they? And what is it that you enjoy most about being with them? And can we maybe move some of that friend time to the weekend? But mom, I don't want to be cooped up at home all day. Oh no, you're not going to be cooped up at home all day, because homeschooling involves going to the museum or going to the various museums, or going to the zoo, or going to, you'll have so much more free time. Does that not interest you? And what is it that does interest you? Well, I really want to become a seamstress. Okay, well, if you homeschool, you can finish all your work by say 1:00 in the afternoon. Then you have the whole rest of the afternoon to pursue, seamstress techniques, sewing techniques. And we can find you a machine, and we can get you patterns, and you can get started on that at the age of 13. Yeah, for sure. So one of the ways that I convinced my smaller children was, well, it was really my oldest. I would ask him, do you have homework today? And he'd say, yeah. I'd say, oh, that's too bad, because if you were homeschooled, you'd be done. I tell you, it didn't take much more than that, and he was in. And his homework was stupid, because in 2nd grade, they give you stupid homework. All right. So to sum it up, I said to her, you need to cast a vision for your family and for yourself of what family you want to see in the future. Because if at the age of 13, your daughter is already sort of in a rebellious posture, then you are headed in different directions. And you need to rectify that, but pronto. And frankly, the same thing with the little boy, because he's gleaning off of his sister. And so that needs to be fixed also. So this is what, that was basically the gist of what I said to her. Stay ahead of the storm with IQ Weather, a premium all-video homeschool course that makes learning science exciting and engaging. This vivid, entertaining program incorporates physics, chemistry, geography, geology, astronomy, and oceanography, giving your kids a well-rounded education in the fascinating world of weather. Designed to captivate young minds, IQ Weather makes complex concepts easy to understand and fun to explore. Visit iqweather.com and use code SAM to get 15% off your order. Give your kids a science education they'll love, and stay prepared for anything. Start your IQ Weather journey today. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is this survey. Now, this is from 2021, but this is a survey that they gave to all the students in these many schools. So the first question was, what school do you attend? The survey is anonymous, and so they don't know who the students are when they answer. They also wrote there are no right or wrong answers, and choose the one response that best fits your thoughts and experiences. If you don't understand a question, if you don't want to answer it, you can skip it. Basically, they're just looking for some information from the kids. But I want to cover some of the questions that they're asking. And then if your children are in school, you should ask them, are you ever given any surveys? And if you are, would you please Tell me about them when you come home, because this is how they get inside the kids' heads. What grade are you in? What is your race or ethnicity? These are all multiple choice. What is your religious affiliation? And that's just a fill in the blank, which I find kind of interesting. Why didn't they list religions? And then maybe provide a fill in the blank if you're not a Christian, a Hindu, Islam, Jewish. Like, why do they not list the religions on the page, but they list multiple ethnicities and multiple, all the grades, 6, 7. So it was given to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But African American or Black, Asian or Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian. What about the kids? Oh, and then they have 2 or more races. White or Caucasian is sort of down towards the bottom, not listed, and prefer not to answer. But religion, they just left blank. Is it because they're not collecting that data? It's very interesting. Okay, turn the page. What is your primary gender identity? Well, you didn't think you were going to escape without doing this one, right? Male, female, transgender female, gender queer or gender fluid, questioning, prefer not to answer, and other. Okay, next one. Do you identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, aromantic/asexual, or questioning? Mark only one oval. So you have to identify, or you can mark my identity is not listed. You can mark I'm not sure. You can mark prefer not to say, and you can also mark other. Once again, I got to go back to the religious. They don't list anything at all. It's like they don't acknowledge that religions actually exist. Like, every religion is so weird that they don't even put them down on the page. But every gender possible, they've marked on it. I'm sorry. What are we doing here, folks? This is a school. This is several schools. How many schools? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 schools got this survey. 12 schools. This is the way they're wasting your children's time in school. Is this educational? Not for the children. It's not educational for the children. Then they go on. This next part is you choose your level of agreement for the next statements about your school and teachers. So they want to know about teacher relationships, curriculum, and I guess it didn't print. And nothing. It didn't print. At my school, teachers and other adults care about my learning, and you can mark strongly agree, disagree, strongly agree. They encourage me to ask questions and participate in discussions. They listen to what I say. They treat me fairly. They allow me to feel that my contributions to the classroom are valued in the classroom. And you can, again, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. There's a question. I respect my teachers. Always, some of the time, most of the time, never. Is there at least one adult in your school that you trust and can go to for advice? Yes or no? And then there's a fill in the blank. Do you have any other information that you would like to share about your experience in your school or your school climate? Because they're very concerned about climate change in schools. I'm kidding. That was a weird little aside. Conversations about the following are planned and encouraging in the classroom. And these are the following things that they talk about in the classroom: race and ethnicity, gender and gender identity, sexual orientation, differences in learning abilities and physical abilities. These are things that are discussed in the classroom instead of teaching math, instead of discussing the book that they just read. In my classroom, I am comfortable having conversations about the following. Check all that apply. And of course, again, strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree. I am comfortable having conversations about race and ethnicity, gender and gender identity, sexual orientation, and differences in learning abilities. And then they have questions about if you feel comfortable sharing your views about race or gender identity or your sexual orientation. A sixth grader's sexual orientation. Are you comfortable sharing about your sexual orientation in class? Sixth grader, you 11-year-old. Should we talk about being gender fluid or something like that? Then they have questions about diversity and inclusivity, adults respecting students, discrimination. And then do you see positive representations of people from many races, cultures, and backgrounds represented in your different classes? And then they list the classes: history, science, math, English, world language, art class, band, choir, and phys ed. Do you see positive representations of the LGBT plus community in your positive, only positive? Do you see positive representations of a sexual choice, a person's sexual choice? Do you see positive representations of women who whore themselves out to men? Prostitution, do you see positive representations of prostitution? Because that's a choice. Do you see positive representations of people who steal? Because that's a choice. BLM, that's a choice. This is given to sixth graders on up. Almost done. Almost done. I think, do you see positive representations of the differently abled community? Do you know, the problem is that the more that you focus on our differences, the more different we seem. It's almost like they want us to hate each other. And then choose your level of agreement with the next statements about school rules and disciplinary actions. And they want to know if the punishment for breaking school rules is the same no matter who you are. If you think that you would receive the same punishment as others, if students know what kind of process to follow. Okay, like I get that. They want to know if students are aware. We work on listening to others so that we really understand what they are trying to say. I feel that I am better at working with other people because of what I have learned at my school is that strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. And then there's another, do you have any other information? Is there bullying or intimidation against anybody because of their race or ethnicity or their immigrant status or their gender identity or their disability? So they're just looking to see if there's any kind of sort of inappropriate behavior in school, which is funny because shouldn't teachers be reporting that? It's almost like the school is just a free-for-all. In school, how often have you heard hurtful comments about blank from teachers? So you can fill in the blank. And the blank is race or ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious identity, and hurtful comments from other students. And that's about it. And then there's a last, do you have anything else to add, basically? 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And you don't think they're data mining our schools. Oh, they're data mining. Oh, yes, they are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this draws us to a close for this final show before my hiatus, which will be between 1 and 2 months. So please stay tuned. Go to sorbostudios.com and sign up for the newsletter. Lots of really great things are happening, and I just have to take a bit of a break from doing this show, but I've really enjoyed doing it. If you'd like to send in questions for my first show back, I would love to answer email questions. You can find the email form. It's on sorbostudios.com, and feel free to reach out there. Also sign up for the newsletter, because that's where any big announcements will be made first and foremost. And then, of course, Instagram Instagram is at sam_sorbo.com. Sorry, sam_sorbo. Twitter is the Sam Sorbo, and Facebook is the official Sam Sorbo Facebook page. So I think that covers it. I'm also branching out onto TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, let me know, and we can sort of follow each other there, I guess. And folks, I'm so excited. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year. This coming year is going to be gangbusters. It is the 250th anniversary of this great nation, and I am so excited to celebrate it with all of you and to celebrate what this nation has accomplished, and the best is yet to come. I really believe that. So I covered everything. I talked about the Washington, D.C. trip. By the way, that's in April. So go to sorbostudios.com, sign up, and hold your spot, because we are actually selling out. I think we still have some spots left, but please go and sign up and hold your spot. And I will see you in the new year. And remember, speak truth. Speak it boldly. God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed in the Sam Sorbo Show are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the Herzog Foundation.